Good evening, one and all. We welcome you to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022 as part of commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute and Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue to today's session. Today, we are commemorating International Stand Up to the Bullying Day. International Stand Up to Bullying Day is observed twice in a year, February and November. In February, it is on last Friday on the month, while in November, the day takes place on the third Friday of the month. It will be next observed on November 18th, that is today. The observations in February are part of the Anti-Bullying Week that aims to create empathy and end bullying and harassment. It is observed by schools, workplaces, organizations, In more than 25 countries, bullying can have lasting effects on personal psyche, and it is important to recognize the instance of bullying and put an end to them immediately. International Stand Up to Bullying Day emerged from the acts of two Nova Scotian 12th graders, Travis Price and David Shepard, stood up and protested when a fellow student was picked on for wearing a pink t-shirt. They bought 50 pink t-shirts at a discount store and emailed their classmates asking them to wear the pink shirts that they had bought the following day to create a sea of pink to support the bullied student. Many students wore the shirts while the rest came to school in their own pink clothes. Their act of creativity and kindness gained notice around Canada, the United States of America, and other countries. By the following year, International Stand Up to Bullying Day had gone viral in many countries across the world. International Stand Up to Bullying Day is a semi-annual event that takes place in both February and November. The November event coincides with Anti-Bullying Week. Those participating in this day sign and wear pink pledge shirts to take a public stand against bullying. The shirts convey displeasure for bullying and extend support to the victims. It is a non-confrontational way to stand up against bullies. It first took place in February 2008 when 236 schools, workplaces, and organizations participated by wearing pink plaid shirts. Each participating school, workplace, or organization hosts its hand with aid provided by event coordinators. Organizations such as Bully Help initiatives are committed to developing effective support structures for victims. So in 1999, the first anti-bullying law in the US, Georgia passes the first anti-bullying law. And in 2008, a cyberbullying law, the California state legislature passes a law directly related to cyberbullying. In 2012, Canada passes an anti-bullying law. Until 2015, the latest state to join in Montana is the last state to adopt the law. Anti-bullying refers to laws, policies, organizations, and movements aimed at stopping or prevent bullying. Bullying is a situation where a person called a bully verbally or physically threatens or assaults a person, causing the person feel a real or perceived power imbalance. So pink shirts aim to reduce bullying by celebrating diversity in all its forms and supporting workplaces, communities, and schools to be safe, supportive, welcoming, and inclusive of all people. That is the purpose of pink shirts on International Stand Up to Bullying Day. And there is no federal law regarding cyberbullying, but most states have some sort of efforts to address this growing issue. Some have explicit criminal laws against it, while others require school or district policies to mitigate its effects. Still, others view cyberbullying as a form of criminal harassment. So take a stand against bullying, extend your support to the victims by wearing a pink shirt on International Stand Up to Bullying Day. Post awareness about the day to your social media accounts until tell people about the importance of the day. You can also post helpline numbers and legal steps that a victim can take and report against bullies. So, and also, if your workplace or organization doesn't have or doesn't observe this day, let your HR or the head of the institution, know that you would like to encourage your co-workers, colleagues, students, research scholars, etc., to join you in the observation. It's valuable in the workplace and educational institutions as well. And 1 in 5 students aged 12 to 18 have been bullied during their school year and is a serious issue in America. About 160,000 teens have been ditched school because of bullying, and bullying makes students skip school. Verbal harassment is most common at 79%, followed by social harassment at 50%, physical bullying at 29%, and cyberbullying at 25%. The major reported form of bullying is verbal harassment, and the most common at 79%. Bullying can lead to poor scores, ranked lower in reading, mathematics, and science than their peers. Older students report bullying less. Only 39% of high schoolers notify an adult of bullying. So, International Stand Up Bullying Day is the best way to take stand against bullying and harassment at your school, workplace, or organization by taking a stand today. So International Stand-Up Bullying Day imagines a future where no one is bullied and everyone gets along. It envisions a better future for all, hopes for a better future. Today is also Occult Day on November 18th. It is a day to revel in the unknown and delve into the depths of the mysteries that surround us. It aims at looking in the shadows and at the stars to the unmystic world. The word occult has a Latin origin where it means hidden knowledge or the knowledge of the unknown. The term occult now refers to the practices related to mysticism, spirituality, and esoteric arts like alchemy, future sight, healing, supernatural gifts, and many more. Many religions and cultures have occultic elements. So we are dedicating Occult Day to better understanding such concepts. Occultism is as old as humans. We do not know who or what started it, but we know, we do know that the word was coined somewhere around the 16th century in Europe. The term occult refers to the practice outside organized religions that have roots in magic, the supernatural, and mythical beasts and magical concoctions. Occult practices also include searching for oneself, the search for the meaning of life, the profound thought and messages one thought ought to feel, the deep dwelling to the inner self, the quest to find spiritual awakening, etc., are all part of occult practices. One might question the relevance of occultism in the modern times, but occult factions are still alive. There are more than 1 million people in the USA who believe in it. Occultism is a fast gaining momentum, just like in the old days, but it is different now. Occult practices are not about world domination through dubious practices. Now it is more about conquering the inner self and finding the truth beyond human comprehension. Or so it is in general case. So Western occultism has deep roots in macrocosm concepts. It emphasizes the connection between human beings and cosmic concepts and structures, both physical and psychological. Through it, Western occultism has deep roots in macrocosm concepts. It emphasizes connection between human beings and cosmic concepts and structures, both physical and psychological. Through it, people can gain enlightenment and powers beyond their natural state. Such paranormal powers are never proved, but there are always figures in the history who claim to have such powers. The most prominent among such people are usually the founders of some religion or major movement. Although prophetic abilities are not a guarantee with occultism, it claims to have some ways to find meaning in a meaningless world. It helps practitioners tap into their full potential hidden within the soul. Modern occultism is about empowerment. Modern society considers occultism a pseudoscience. Occult Day, on the other hand, is devoted to dwelling on the mystery of what is unknown. It is a day for experimentation and discovery of powers that haven't yet to be sensed and discovered. A day to try to find the full potential of the soul and nature around us. So sometimes, because still science is its infancy, so there are many things which are beyond the scope of science. Maybe by instead of directly denying of the phenomenons and concepts, maybe we can see these things in purview of science, so that science can also develop a perspective and also try to understand these concepts, phenomena in a different way. So in 1335, the Sabbath trials, Anne-Marie de Gorgel and Catherine Delot are tried, the consuming the corpses of newborns in the name of devil worship. 1875, establishment of Theosophy. Helena Blavatsky establishes Theosophy, which has deep roots in occultism and Eastern philosophies. In 1888, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, William Wynne Westcott, Samuel Liddell, MacGregor Mathers, and William Robert Woodman start the order to revive occult practices and literature. And in 1992, Paul Foster Case creates the Builders of Adjutum, a society that teaches Hermetic Kabbalah and astrology and occult tarot are the builders of the Adjutum. And Bridget Bishop was the first person accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials in 1692. And this cult is a group of supernatural beliefs and practices which fall outside the scope of religion and science. It involves otherworldly agencies such as mysticism, spirituality, and magic. And there are some examples of occult practices which include astrology, witchcraft, the black arts, fortune telling, magic, both black and white, Ouija boards, tarot cards, spiritism, parapsychology, and satanism. So there are some social evils and evil practices. At the same time, there are certain things which are beyond the scope of religion and science. It has to be carefully understood where such evil and cruel practices needs to be constrained. At the same time, we need to understand the paranormal phenomenon or extraterrestrial, celestial objects and energies. And around 50,000 people were executed in witch hunts in Europe. Take a moment to remember them and their effort to learn occult practices in those dark ages. And Philosopher's Stone is the stone believed to be made through alchemy and claimed to have ability to grant immortal life. And some people use crystals therapy to heal wounds and diseases using the positive and negative souls of the crystals, negative aura, positive and negative aura of the crystals. So occultists believe the power inside gems can be used to heal and empower people. So they use gemstones in healing and empowering people. The athame is a knife with a black handle used for banishing rituals. And Wicca or witchcraft is a modern pagan religion, and they represent the cauldron as a womb of goddesses. So it makes sense of the senseless. Some things just would not make sense in this universe, even with modern science. On this occult day, we can try to consider them as the inner workings of a magically connected world. So we try to understand history. Medieval Western culture is deeply influenced by occult ideologies, literature, and art. To understand occult ideas is to understand parts of history itself. We see that all religions, irrespective of, any part of the world, has a lot of magical, activities, activism, which are deeply rooted in their own religion, custom, and traditions. So we can see the largest followed religions, have the most illogical or irrational or unscientific practices like these, which are not under the scope of science, and they cannot be explained in the logic of science. So certain things are there, so which does not make sense. We need to try to understand the history and different religions, how they have inculcated these practices. And medieval Western culture is deeply influenced by these occult ideologies, literature, and art. And to understand occult ideas is to understand the parts of history itself. And our own mind does not obey us sometimes. So use this occult day to communicate with yourself through a different angle, and let's see if we can hear any messages from the deep within ourselves. But make sure this is a conscious effort and do not create any psychiatric illness on your own, which never exists. Often there is a quote saying that by overthinking, we will create a problem which never existed before. So be cautious, be aware, be conscious about such thing when we are doing inter and intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication is a communication which we communicate within ourselves. So we have to be very aware and conscious when we are communicating within ourselves. We should not be in some fantasy world or imaginary world and try to communicate, which can create a lot of mental health issues. And today, with this, we conclude Occult Day commemoration, and we shall move on to World Vasectomy Day. Today, On the third Friday of November every year, World Vasectomy Day is commemorated and it is observed. The day advocates for vasectomy as a safe and sensible choice for male contraception and promotes training of doctors who conduct the procedure. Vasectomy is a permanent contraceptive procedure done on male sexual organ to limit the transfer of sperm during intercourse. Vasectomy is safe, reversible, and highly effective in preventing unwanted pregnancies. Since its launch in 2012, World Vasectomy Day has partnered with more than 30 plus countries and now is the biggest and the largest male-focused family planning and sexual health movement in the world. World Vasectomy Day encourages men to consider the choice of vasectomy as contraception. It is a joint initiative of filmmaker and journalist Jonathan Stack and urologist Dr. Doug Stein, who view the project to popularize vasectomy as a collective movement for social change. The day is part of the 7-day WVD event observed in the third week of November. The project has operating headquarters in Australia, Kenya, Indonesia, Mexico, Haiti, Rwanda, and Colombia. The founders consider vasectomy as an act of love performed by an informed male to take the control of their lineage into their own hands. As per the science of ovulation, a female's anatomy allows her to conceive for only 2 days in a month. It makes for 24 days in a year, whereas male can create a baby multiple times a day, every day of the month, throughout the year. Hence, the onus of avoiding unwanted pregnancy should be on men instead of the women, who mostly shield the burden with daily birth control, diaphragms, IUDs, etc. So World Vasectomy Day inspires men to be compassionate partners to their spouses. There is a lot of stigma regarding a vasectomy that continues to plague our society, including the fear of emasculation and decreased sexual performance. So WVD conducts educational events and men's health fairs to maximize the participation and healthy discussion on the topic. The movement partners with leading public health organizations and the governments of specific countries to launch male-specific family control initiative. So World Vasectomy Day is an important day for the population control and for promoting family control initiatives. So the first NIP, a vasectomy is performed on a dog for the first time in 1823, and Chicago surgeon A.G. Ushner performs the procedure on a man for the first time in the US, being the first case in 1997. So the vasectomy procedure gains popularity with many influential men such as Sigmund Freud and W.B. Yeats undergoing the surgery with the public embrace in 1920. And the day is named American journalist and filmmaker Jonathan Stack and urologist Dr. Doug Stein designate the third Friday of November as World Vasectomy Day in 2013. So is vasectomy a good idea? Vasectomies are the most effective form of male contraception with 99% efficacy. So there is no right or wrong time to get vasectomy. An adult 18 plus can choose to have vasectomy at any time in their lives, and the procedure can cause some pain or discomfort with some residue swelling and bruising, but it isn't ruled as terribly painful. The aftercare for the procedure includes icing, painkillers, and an entire day of rest. So this is a day to join the mission The WVD network trains doctors and medical professionals to perform vasectomies on men. To mark the day, you can spread the word and connect impressionable medical professionals in your network towards taking up the training at one of the WVD centers. And there are a lot of misconceptions and obvious stigma attached to the vasectomies. On World Vasectomy Day, arm yourself with important facts and statistics about the procedures so you can challenge the preconceived notions of people and change minds. Vasectomy is a conscious choice that can have positive impact on the well-being of the families and other people. Mark the day by collaborating with your local leaders, writers, media personalities, and journalists to inform the public about the procedure and its implications. So, vasectomies are quite popular in the US. More than half of a million men get a vasectomy each year. And vasectomy limits the mixing of semen with other seminal fluids without impacting their release, which means men continue to orgasm after the procedure, and there is no impact on the drive. Vasectomies do not affect a man's sex drive or sexual performance. Reversal isn't popular. Although vasectomy is reversible for all patients, only 3 to 5% of men request an undo in their lifetimes. Any perfect solution, vasectomy does not shield you from sexually transmitted diseases such as syphilis, herpes, etc. So it is safe and reversible. Since its launch in 2012, the sole mission of the World Vasectomy Day project is to propagate the merits of getting a vasectomy. The project aims to encourage men to consider the upside of the procedure, which is a complete avoidance of unwanted pregnancy until they decide otherwise. So we need to know the options. It's a year-round program that works with institutions to educate public, train doctors, and create a vibrant community of people who share a passion for sexual liberty and progressive procedure. In almost all committed couples, it is the female partner who take birth control every morning, placing a lot of responsibility with her. With WVD, people can learn about option of one-time surgery. And vasectomy surgery takes about 10 to 30 minutes and has no post-operative restrictions or complications. Additionally, the cost of a vasectomy is far less than that of a long-term birth control or female sterilization. It simply makes sense to treat vasectomy as a viable and financially sound option of contraception, which is what the day illuminates. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration.
Here in the United States,
an outbreak of a superbug fungus.
this antibiotic-resistant strain could be the end of the road for antibiotics.
Antibiotic resistance is when a bug that causes the infection learns how to outsmart our antibiotics.
They develop mechanisms to overcome our antibiotics so that they are not useful.
Basically, we lose the antibiotic to treat a common infection.
Antibiotic resistance is really a natural phenomenon. If you go all the way back to the 40s when we first had penicillin.
One of the most common is that the way we treat strep throat, for example, has changed for some patients.
In the course of my career, I've watched one of the most significant antibiotics of our time, carbapenems. E. coli has developed resistance to carbapenems, and that can leave patients with very few treatment options.
The CDC and the FDA have estimated that about 35,000 deaths in the United States every year come from drug-resistant infections.
We have a limited number of antibiotic drugs available, and when they stop working, we are not getting new ones at a pace to replace them.
Even though we are developing antibiotics, you know, the bugs are still developing resistance. So it's kind of like a constant battle that we're trying to fight in the clinical space to make sure that the antibiotics we do have, we can continue to use.
Treating antibiotic-resistant pathogens is often a collaboration between the ID physician, the microbiology laboratory, and the ID pharmacist, who together will put together all the information they have and design a regimen that should work for the patient.
The pharmacist has an extraordinary role in treating these infections. He or she understands how medications behave in the body, and they can tailor that or refine that treatment for the patient.
Every time we use an antibiotic, we select the right drug, the right dose, for the right duration, for that patient, for that infection. That in itself is combating antibiotic resistance.
In human health, we're using antibiotic stewardship programs to limit antibiotics to when they're absolutely necessary. But we're also looking at antibiotic use in agriculture, where it can sometimes be used to promote growth. And the same is true for crop science.
So antibiotic stewardship programs set out to try to slow the development of antibiotic resistance by making sure that antibiotics are used optimally. So dosing of antibiotics is hugely important, and of course, as an infectious diseases pharmacist, probably one of the things we spend the most time thinking about, because we're dosing to make sure we're giving the patients a dose that's going to fall into that window of being effective, but not so much drug that we're leading to excess side effects or adverse effects. So really finding that sweet spot.
And then more globally, we know that just the more, for lack of a better word, tonnage of antibiotics that we put into the system, be it the healthcare system or the environment, that runs more risk for resistance.
What is important for other healthcare workers to know is that, one, your antimicrobial stewardship program is not the antibiotic police. We are here to help. We are all on the same team. So your stewardship programs are really balancing patient care right now and patient care in the future.
We really just need the healthcare professionals as a whole to be very cognizant of how they're prescribing antibiotics and really consider them as a shared public health resource and use them as such.
The relationship that the ID pharmacist in the hospital has with the prescriber is very tied. You know, decisions that are made are jointly made for the most part, and I rely heavily on my ID pharmacist for help in many difficult situations.
New drugs are important for infectious diseases because they help us overcome those resistance mechanisms.
The more antibiotics we have in the pipeline that can address these resistance issues that we are seeing, the better we fare in the future for treating these pathogens.
Our lab works with a number of scientists that develop the drugs, and we are testing them here in this lab. We have many pharmacists that are currently FDA members.
So if we don't get new antibiotics, I mean, the most dramatic way to think about it is entering into a post-antibiotic era. So thinking about what it was like before we had things like penicillin available.
There are whole new classes of drugs that are currently being developed, and there are new technologies that better help us understand the bugs, the infections that we're treating.
I think what's exciting is that society has realized that antibiotics are a unique tool and a special tool. I'm encouraged that Congress is starting to look at new legislation that will facilitate the development of new antibiotics.
Just looking at the energy and enthusiasm and passion that SIDP members have for their jobs is really reassuring to me that there is hope, and we are not going to let the bugs win.
This week is Antibiotics Awareness Week. So this video talks about how and the role of pharmacists in combating antibiotic resistance.
Imagine if antibiotics became useless. People died from common infections. Routine surgeries and treatments turned into life-threatening health risks. This is happening now. It's called drug resistance. Drug resistance occurs when germs are not killed by the medicines designed to destroy them. Why? Because antibiotics and other antimicrobials are being overused and misused. Drug-resistant infections are especially dangerous for cancer patients and others with weakened immune systems. What can you do? Use only antibiotics prescribed by a doctor. Complete your treatment. Never share or use leftover antibiotics. You can also prevent infections in the first place by washing your hands and preparing food hygienically, practicing safe sex, and by getting vaccinated. Drug resistance is one of the most serious health threats facing humanity. It could cause 10 million deaths per year and an overall cost of $100 trillion to the global economy by 2050, if we don't act now.
This is how with the abuse or overuse or regular use of antibiotics can create antimicrobial resistance, in short known as AMR, and its impact on various diseases, on treatments, especially its impact on cancer care. To 24th November is World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. Antimicrobial resistance, in short known as AMR, occurs when bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasites change over time and no longer respond to the medicines, making infections harder to treat and increasing the risk of diseases spread, severe illness, and death. As a result of drug resistance, antibiotics and other antimicrobial medicines become ineffective and infections increasingly difficult or impossible to treat. A global action plan to tackle the growing problem of resistance to antibiotics and other antimicrobial medicines was endorsed at the 68th World Health Assembly in May 2015. One of the key objectives of the plan is to improve awareness and understanding of AMR through effective communication, education, and training. World Antimicrobial Awareness Week, WAAW, is a global campaign that is celebrated annually to improve awareness and understanding of AMR and encourage best practices among the public, One Health stakeholders and policymakers who all play a critical role in reducing the further emergence and spread of AMR. This year, the theme of World Antimicrobial Awareness Week is preventing antimicrobial resistance together. We call on all the sectors to encourage the prudent use of antimicrobials and to strengthen preventive measures addressing AMR, working together collaboratively through a One Health approach. Antimicrobial resistance, AMR, is a threat to humans, animals, plants, and the environment. It affects us all. That is why this year themes calls for collaboration across sectors to preserve the efficacy of these critical medicines. Fighting AMR is a truly global endeavor and must be addressed through a One Health approach. To curb it effectively, all sectors must join forces and encourage the prudent use of antimicrobials as well as preventive measures, strengthening infection prevention and control in healthcare facilities, farms, and food industry premises, ensuring access to vaccines, clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, implementing best practices in food and agriculture production, and guaranteeing the sound management of waste and wastewater form key sectors are critical to reducing the need for antimicrobials and minimizing the emergence and transmission of AMR. The slogan of Antimicrobial Awareness Week remains Antimicrobials Handle with Care, which includes antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, and antiparasitics. So handle antimicrobials with care.
This is Lucy and Mo. When they get sick, their doctor and veterinarian may prescribe antimicrobials, such as antibiotics. Usually, antimicrobials work, but what if they didn't? Antimicrobials can lose their healing power due to antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. What is antimicrobial resistance? AMR is when bacteria or other microorganisms become resistant to drugs that are supposed to combat them. Some bacteria even grow resistant to several drugs. They are called superbugs. AMR is a natural process. But as we use more and more antimicrobials and fail to use them responsibly, this natural process is accelerated. Superbugs can spread through the environment and between species. When they spread, we lose precious tools against infectious diseases and run out of options to cure people, animals, and plants. Each year, more than 1 million people die because of the rising number of superbugs. And this is without counting animal suffering and losses. What can we do to fight antimicrobial resistance? We all have a part to play in curbing its spread. To prevent diseases, follow the guidelines of the World Organization for Animal Health on biosecurity, animal husbandry practices, and responsible use of antimicrobials. Only use antimicrobials in animals when prescribed by a vet. Always follow the length of treatment and dosing instructions recommended by your vet, even if your animals already seem cured. We all need antimicrobials, but not in all situations. Let's make sure they remain effective for generations to come.
So we thank you for attending today's sessions. With this, we conclude today's sessions, and kindly fill up the feedback form before you leave the platform. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.